So if you're watching this video, it's probably because of the thumbnail or the headline. Nothing too crazy about it. But my name's Alexander Vallejo. I do digital marketing and consulting for dental practices. So I just want to go over a couple concepts that I've been seeing a lot lately, and a lot of the dental practices that I work with have been facing these issues. So the one that is top of mind right now is not knowing who your ideal client profile is. And that's where we really start with the audit of all the practices that we work with. And apologies again, I feel like every time I lean forward and back, there's like a cracking sound coming from this chair. But with all that, right, to enter the marketing field, the marketing industry, you really need to understand who is your target audience, right? And I always give the example that a 40-year-old mom of 2 children is going to think, act, and speak completely differently than a 28-year-old male, okay? So knowing who your target audience is going to 10x your marketing just off of how you're gonna word and do your copy of your ads, right? But before we even find and speak to our target audience, I always say we need to audit on who we want our target audience to be, who we want our ICP to be. And again, some loud truck coming by. Where we start there is we look at the financials, right? Who are the people that actually pay on time? Who are the people that pay the most? Who are the people that are just the best to deal with? Okay, and then once you normally get a good idea of that, then that's how we figure out who our avatar is. And contrary to popular beliefs, I actually don't ask dentists, the actual business owners, these questions. I ask the front desk. Why? Because the dentist might optimize for a certain person that's in their chair, but the front desk is the person who deals with them all the time. So a way that we do research to find how these people think, act, speak is actually going on social media, and specifically Reddit. I like Reddit the best just because it's kind of the honest voice of anyone who's using social media. It is kind of anonymous. Obviously it's not 100%, but for the most part, people can post what they want without feeling pressure from people that they know or just outside pressure in general. And so I go there, and then within that, you're able to look into subreddits, okay? A lot of things that I've done before is look into women over the age of 30 subreddit. That's a subreddit, shocking, but there's one also for women over 60. And within that, I search for keywords. So for dentists, I search anything along the lines of dentists, right? And what you start to realize is that people aren't really price sensitive, which is pretty shocking to believe, but I would say the average person is actually not price sensitive, especially when something costs a lot. It's because what people actually care about, and what we found through our research, and this is just general ideas that we've seen across these practices, is that people would rather pay more if it's done correctly on the first time, and they just overall had a good experience doing it, right? So obviously the staff has to be nice from the second that the first phone call is made all the way to the delivery of whatever procedure that they're getting, right? People are willing to pay more if those other needs are met. And to really find those questions that your target audience is looking for, again, Reddit. People are going to be posing questions to other people that are on the platform to answer, right? And based off of those questions, that's how you're gonna form your ad copy. For example, let me just think of something off the top of my head real quick. RPPs, okay? If you're in dental, you know what an RPP is, right? So the biggest money-making block when doing an RPP is not anything to do with pricing, okay? It's mainly all to do with speed, okay? Obviously, this is a little bit more general, but this is where we can dive into the concept of money not being the main factor. So why do people need RPPs? Because they are in pain, okay? So the best thing, if you want more RPPs, is to make sure that anyone who is contacting you with, looking for that type of procedure done, then you're gonna wanna get them in that same day. Again, nothing is more motivating than pain. And when you need an RPP, you're in pain. So you want to get them in same day, the latest being, the next day. But again, everything works with speed. So the next big topic I want to cover is that marketing is great and you can have the best marketing agency out there, but without the right system in place to be able to handle the growth, not only is it going to be your biggest mess, but it's also just going to be a waste of money. Why? Because let's just say your front desk is not using a script. Now you know that every single phone call that you're getting is going to be handled in a completely different manner. On top of it too, there's no standardization across the phone calls. So you can't tell specifically why they booked with Helen, who's your front desk, and they didn't book with Elena, who's your other front desk. So what all you're doing with these systems is you're basically creating a standard for everyone to operate on so that you're able to measure who's doing great, who needs help. And I would say, I don't like to use the word who's the problem, because again, I think when you lead a business, when you work with employees, that you should never be the person that is bringing people down or kind of saying things in a negative way. Why? Because again, employees are hard to find nowadays. It's hard to find A team players. You can find C team players anywhere, but again, who wants a C team player? You want all A team players because that's truly how you're gonna get profitable. But not really because they can leave, but it's because overall, you wanna make sure that the chemistry of your practice is working seamlessly. And again, if you have A and B team players and you bring the B team players up to an A player, now you have systems to get anyone off the street to be able to get from the bottom. They could basically have no dental experience and go all the way to be able to close leads, sell treatment plans, assist like they've assisted their entire life. But again, all it comes down to is the system, right? And so with my agency slash consulting agency, at this point, I started out in marketing, and then over time you realize that you enter one industry, but you also realize you're entering another one at the same time, which is consulting. And that's kind of why we bring in the leads, but we also help you build out the consultants, or we build out the systems, right? But the reason we also do that is simply because we start with controlling the lead flow. Okay, so we know exactly how many calls you're getting a month. We also know exactly how you're answering all those calls. But then what we do is we start to look from there backwards, okay? We start with the front desk to optimize for the lead generation. After that, now that we have enough, I always say blood, but fresh money coming in, now we're able to do a real in-depth audit of the entire practice to see where the money is actually being left on the table. And for a lot of practices, it is the AR aging report. So the accounts receivable aging report, because dentists get into being a dentist for the love of the game, okay? Not a lot of people enter dentistry with the business mindset of how am I going to multiply this? And so with that, that is why we kind of put the dentist to the side and we help the business aspect and find where the leaks are. And then based off of where the leaks are, we're gonna focus priority on what needs to be done first versus what are changes that can be made later down the line. But this is kind of just to wrap around on the topic too. This is mainly just because you can do marketing, but again, without the right system in place, it doesn't really end well. Of course, it's always great to have consistent leads, but again, what you should be optimizing is not for how much new business you can get in every single month. You should be optimizing for LTV, or lifetime value. How much money you can get out of one single patient in their whole career or lifetime that they come to your dental office. So to kind of change directions here, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the marketing side to really go into, if you want to do this yourself, which you can, this is how you should be thinking about it, right? So if you're constantly testing and retesting in ad accounts, it might feel productive, but it's actually just a lot of noise. Because again, what you're trying to do, and I always tell this to everyone, when you're running ads, you're not buying ad space. You're not. You're buying data. And that's the mindset you have to treat everything with, okay? That's why our minimum ad spend to work with us is $3,000 a month. Okay, it's not because we want to take more money from you, not at all. It's simply because there is a dead zone under $3,000 a month. Okay, especially when you want those higher ticket items. It's because with $100 a month, let's just take something small like that. Let's just say you can get 100 views. Okay, maybe one booked call, one consultation, whatever you want. Okay. Over a timeline of a month, only 100 views is not a lot of data to be making assumptions on. But let's take $3,000 a month in ad spend. Now you're able to get 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 impressions, views, same. Now you're actually able to make a decision. So let's just say out of the 10,000 views, you got 2 booked calls. That's horrible, okay? Meaning you're able to make a decision, and a qualified decision, that that ad or that ad copy that you used was not worth the money, okay? And so what you should do is you should change it. But again, everything needs patience, and that's like the biggest issue that I see a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of young people, or people that are just new to running ads, is that they're very impatient. They want to turn on the ads and be getting leads the same day. Okay, obviously you have differentiation between Google ads and meta ads, and I'll dive into that in maybe later this video, or in another video. But again, all it comes down to is that how many impressions, how many views can you get within a certain period of time that's short enough that are able to make qualified decisions on the ad. Again, do not touch things every single day, because again, what are you doing? You're bringing in multiple variables. What you want to do is you want to have 9 out of the 10 things to stay the same, and you have 1 variable at a time. And then once you realize you found the best thing for that specific variable, let's just say you found the best offer to use, okay? Now you keep that offer, and now you focus on the description, okay? So everything else stays the same, the color, the images, everything. The hook stays the same, because again, now that you found the best offer, hook, same thing. Now you're able to see, okay, you tried one thing, now let's try something else. And it's a system. Again, everything has to be systematic. But again, what I see as a huge issue is some people will try 5 different hooks, 5 different descriptions, 5 different photos, and they're wondering why they can't find their winning ad. It's because again, they're not measuring anything systematically. They're doing everything by chance and then wondering how they can consolidate the data. What you want to do is start with the data consolidated and then test 1 variable at a time. And eventually, once you go down the list of hook slash offer, description, photos, type of photo, type of video, once you're able to get down that entire funnel, that's where you're going to find the winning ads, which again, after that, you're going to switch over and run them by themselves, because again, what you want to do is you want to maximize their ad spend, because as we all know, every offer, every ad has a lifetime. Eventually, that best performing ad, the ad that made you $100,000, the ad that made you $1 million will die. Again, it's just a lifetime. What you're trying to do is find what's winning in that lifetime, crank it as high as possible, drain it for all it can do, and then once it's underperforming, that's when you take it away and you start something new. And recently I was actually watching a podcast, and something really stood out to me that I felt like is definitely worth sharing on this video. And I wrote it down here, and it says, if I want to 10x my business, I have to 10x. So growth is capped by who you are and not your strategy. It's because one of the biggest people that I look up to in the entrepreneurship space, I believe his name is Greg Laur, L-A-U-R. Again, I could be butchering it, but that's not what this video is about. He is the founder of Bloom Energy Drinks, Bloom Nutrition, just I would say a supplement brand, okay? Let's just put an umbrella term. I could be butchering it, but again, that's not what this video is about. So he said that you should be reinventing yourself every 6 months, and you shouldn't recognize who you were 6 months ago. And how do you take away that? How do you apply that into a dental practice? How do you apply that into being an entrepreneur in general? It's easy to build the $10 million business. It's very hard to build the person who runs the $10 million business, okay? I'm gonna give you an example into my own life here. When I started out, I had no connections, okay? I knew I wanted to do marketing because at the time marketing was kind of growing up, and I always had an interest in, psychologically selling people, and sales psychology, that's a better word for it. And what I realized is that I hated cold calling. I hated cold approaching. People always told me I was great at sales, but again, I had my own mental blocks in my head that I was very fearful of rejection, okay? And why I add this story into this whole video is simply because when you start out, if I started out cold calling 100 calls a day, from the second I wanted to start this business, I was doing 100 phone calls a day. I was doing 5 in-person meet and greets every single day, networking. I immediately went and bought a booth at one of the biggest dental meetings in the world. If I started all of that from day one and I was consistent, I'd be at a $10 million business right now. But since I let those fears get in the way, that's what took me so long to grow this business. It wasn't until I eventually psyched myself out and got so mad at myself that I was the one that was limiting my success, my growth, because I want to stay in my own comfort zone. That's when it really changed for me. And I was like, you know what? This is the time where I only have 100 years on this earth maximum. In 2 generations, no one's gonna remember exactly what I said. And for that reason, I might as well just go all at it. And that is why, if you want to 10x for your business, you will have to 10x. If you are a dentist and you own your dental practice, if you want to franchise your practice, you're gonna have to start thinking in different ways. You're gonna have to start automating certain tasks, systematizing the entire practice so that you're able to copy and paste it. But again, if you're not doing that and you want to get to franchise level, then you're going to have to change yourself. You're gonna have to grow. So if you want to 10x your business, you're gonna need to 10x yourself. So I know I jumped all over the place today. I started out with starting your marketing for dental practices, but again, all that marketing information can be really used for any other service-based business. We've done this for plumbers in the past. It works the exact same. And then we also talked about how to find the right system to pair with your marketing, because again, if you don't have the right systems, then nothing's really gonna work. You can force things through, but it's not gonna be working at scale. And that's why it's super important. Again, this can be used not just for dental, this can be used for any other service-based business. And then on top of it, we also talked about how you're gonna actually have to grow to change your business outlook, right? If you want your business to 10x, you're gonna have to 10x. Again, that kind of ties right into when you wanna dive into marketing. You can either have a team that does it for you, or if you wanna keep everything in-house, you can do it in-house. Again, it's gonna take a lot to learn, and it's gonna take a lot more of your time that you're not gonna be able to spend on other sides. And you're not gonna be able to delegate it, okay? That's the beauty of hiring a marketing agency. You can delegate that work to a person that does that full time. On top of it too, they're gonna know exactly how to run the ads, specifically if you find a marketing agency that serves your industry. Because the last thing you want is for you to learn how to do marketing, you go to do marketing, and again, as we mentioned before, you're testing too many things, you don't know exactly how to do it, and not only are you wasting money, but you're also wasting your time. And then obviously the last thing, which is growing your business overall, okay? You just have to get after it. There's not really anything else to say it. Your first time you're ever gonna try something, it's never going to be perfect, but it's all about how you keep getting up, right? My dad always uses this example that it's about a boxer, okay? It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, it's of how many times you get back up, okay? So with that, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I am going to be making more videos in the future, so if you like this one, please just give it a like. If you want to subscribe, I appreciate it. Again, one of these days, probably in the next couple years, I'm gonna be the biggest name in the dental practice field, or just honestly in the dental industry. I have a lot of cool things coming out. So if you're even remotely interested, or you own a dental practice and you want a free audit, me to look into some of the things that I would change if I was you, just give me a comment down below, leave your phone number, or private message me. That all works, and then we can get started from there. Thank you.